Hi, friends. I am Marie Woods, founder of Life Above Foundation, your host, a professional counselor, family and marriage therapist, and a wholeness life coach. Welcome to Relationship Real Talk, the podcast where we dive deep and tackle the toughest relationship challenges Christians face today. Are you tired of struggling with unforgiveness, past wounds, and conflicts? Feeling lonely or having trouble communicating? Wrestling with trust issues or trying to balance your faith with your relationship goals? Feeling stuck and stagnant in your relationship? You are in the right place. Here at the Relationship Real Talk, we get real and cover a wide range of topics, including relationship anxiety, trauma bonds, infidelity, estrangement, toxic dynamics, dating after divorce, and how to heal from relationship trauma and grow and build healthy and lasting relationships. We're not just about identifying the problems. We're all about finding real, integrated solutions from multiple disciplines and offering professional help from different fields to mend and strengthen your relationships. So, let's get started on this journey together, one honest, heartfelt conversation at a time. I have a very special guest speaker. Her name is Linda Geiger. So let me just give a short intro about Linda before we jump into today's conversation. So Linda, she is a retired registered nurse, and she is a certified professional coach. And in our conversation, Linda told me earlier that she has been coaching people for last 15 years. She has a lot of coaching experience. And she's an author and a speaker. As a Christian entrepreneur, she is the CEO and the founder of her own virtual love and the relationship coaching practice. So today we're going to focusing on love and the relationship. Welcome, Linda.
Thank you, Marie. It's so good to be here. Thank you for your invitation. I'm excited to share whatever I can today with the people who are listening and watching. And I know in my heart of hearts, there are so many people. I focus on working with women mostly, but the information that I share really works for men and women as well in general.
Today, our topic gonna focus on about dating. Dating is an exciting topic, for singles or people have been widowed or for whatever reason they are in the realm they're looking for a partner, right? So let's start from this. I want to ask you, Linda, what takes you to the loving relationship, being a coach? And can you give us a little bit of maybe your personal story or background to help us to understand?
Sure. Yes. Well, I've been married before. I'm divorced, and being over 50 when I got divorced, I thought, well, I've been married, I have kids, I have a good life, I love my church, I love my friends. I moved from Arizona to Colorado when I split up with my ex-husband. So I got a new job and lived in a new town and a new home and really just created a new life here with God's help. And I really wasn't expecting to be interested in dating again. I just felt like, well, I'm done with that part of my life. But after kind of settling into being single again, God tapped me on the shoulder and said, no, you're not done yet. And so I thought, wow, I don't really know what that means, what to do next, because when I dated last, I was a lot younger, and there's a whole new world of online dating and just felt kind of overwhelmed. So I read everything I could find and actually signed up to work with a few different coaches. I watched some video sessions and YouTube classes to learn about it. And I just learned that there's so much information out there, which is wonderful. There are lots of different kinds of coaches, and that's good because there's lots of different kinds of people. But for me, being a Christian, I wasn't finding Christian coaches or books really that I didn't have to translate from some of the terminology that was used, and really obviously the focus. So that's how I got interested in doing coaching myself. I had been a coach, a dream coach, certified in making your dreams come true. That was the name of the program. So I've helped people accomplish goals and visions and dreams for years, but specifically working with the Lord and what the Bible says about dating, I was looking at it for myself and ran across a coach that I aligned with pretty well. Her system is really effective. She's been successful with helping people in relationships for over 20 years. But once again, I needed to translate it into the language that worked with my heart as a Christian and apply it to my own life. So I learned a lot. I changed a lot. I've dated online and organically, is I guess what they call it. And God has taught me a lot. So when it came time to share what I had learned, there were people that I knew that wanted to know about it. And then as I started coaching women, I realized this is working. People are getting engaged and getting married to amazing people. So that's how I got to where I am today.
Is every person who is single, who is interested in dating, ready to date? That's my first question.
Yeah, that's a good question. I do believe that everybody that has a desire in their heart to have a partner, to get married, has someone for them. The readiness for it can depend, my little assistant, my puppy dog over there. Readiness for it, we can evaluate in several ways. Usually, if you're in the middle of a relationship, sometimes people near the end of a relationship of, heading into divorce, maybe they're separated or maybe newly widowed even, are thinking about dating. And readiness is really a relative term. It isn't all or nothing. Dating a little bit when you're feeling like you want to try it out, if you're newly divorced or newly single or newly widowed, there's nothing wrong with that. What helps usually is to have some kind of clarity on what you are looking for, what you need, maybe what's standing in your way. So there are some steps to take to evaluate your own readiness by asking yourself some questions and maybe doing a little journaling, obviously some prayer about that.
I think that's a really good point, that evaluating, assessing where I am, where we are now. My heart is ready, or what are those clarity? Who is the person that I want to date, right? So there's some kind of goals, or let's say some kind of standards, is that give us a clarity when we look out for this person. So is that what you're saying, right?
Right. Being clear on what it is you're looking for. And it ends up being, in a lot of ways, a mirror of ourselves. So what shows up when we evaluate that sort of thing sometimes is some fears and maybe some roadblocks, because maybe you have dated a certain type of person maybe more than once, or having gone through a traumatic kind of a relationship, there's a fear of repeating, coming up with another relationship that's very similar and not being able to discern whether that's what we're getting into. And that was something that I was working on when I was working with my coaches, because I was afraid. I had been with a drug addict, alcoholic at one time, and then a narcissist after that. And I know we throw these names around and these labels around, but they come with the fears once we get out of those relationships. Well, I was in them once. What's going to stop me from choosing someone like that again? So that's where some of the personal work happens. Usually when I work with someone one-on-one or in a group, about 80% of it is preparation, looking at where we are evaluating things that we want to shift, maybe some forgiveness work for others and for ourselves. And that, as you said, clarity on how do I even know what I am looking for?
Mm-hmm. Yes, so true. You were talking about your own life experience, and also as a mental health therapist, I work with people who have been through traumatic relationships, have a trauma in their lives. So I can see that piece, how important it is for us to be healed before we jump into another relationship, right?
Right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and some people can get sort of stuck on getting themselves to perfection before they start dating. Some people want to jump in and date right away and often end up in similar situations as they were in the past.
Mhm.
But we can also get high centered and think, okay, it's been 8 years. I don't know if I'm ready yet, because they're afraid that they've missed something that they want to clear up. And the way God creates relationships is people grow together in the relationship. So there isn't a point that you have to reach before you graduate and are ready to date.
That's a really good point, because I heard a lot when people said, "Oh, you're single because God is still preparing you." Like what you said, and you don't have to become perfect, which is untrue. We cannot become perfect this life. Be ready, like you said, wait for 6, 7, 8 years, still not able to step a foot into the dating relationship, and we see that as a problem too. Thank you for pointing that out. And also, if we, have a personal self-no esteem or self-doubt, that's not in a good position for a relationship either, right?
Right. And as a coach, that's something that coaches and therapists work on together with people, because it's hard to keep yourself pumped up every day, and that's not even really necessary. But if your self-esteem or your self-worth is lower than would be helpful, we do attract similar kinds of people to the where we are. And the whole earth operates on vibrations. You can tell if you walk into a room, you can tell if there's been an argument in that room, even if no one's saying anything, because you can kind of feel that energy. Or if you walk down a dark alley, hopefully not, and you feel very uncomfortable, we have these senses of what we're experiencing with other people around. So for us to raise our own self-esteem level, our own self-worth, and to just raise our energy level to the feeling of I am worthy. God has given me this beautiful self to live my life, and He has someone for me as beautiful and have unique in their own way, but somebody who's a match for me. God said in the first book of the Bible, it wasn't good for man to be alone. I will make a match for him. So someone who is as a helper, who is complementary in a relationship. So yeah, raising that vibration, getting ourselves to the point where like, I love being around myself
Right.
most of the time, sometimes not, but clearing up some of those things are so important and valuable.
So good, so good. I love this. You use this, energy level. Is to me, my understanding is when we become a healthy, when we become positive, radiate the light of Christ inside of us. So we bring this positive energy to the environment, to other people. So we meet somebody, it's supposed to be like something, I wouldn't say charming. It's not in a bad sense, right? But
Right.
it can be a sense, be, more playful or energetic or charming in the good sense, and bring happiness in the conversation, into the conversation. So who don't want that, right? Who doesn't want that? We all want
Right.
that.
Right.
So yeah, so I do have something to come back regarding the, dating in the relationship. It's about a commitment. I know from the beginning, nothing set in stone. We're still meeting each other, but to what degree, and to started considering, and maybe we should commit in some level. But I will come back to ask you that question. As you were talking about the energy level, one word came to my mind is about compatible. compatible. So how do I meet someone who is compatible with me, energy level, spiritually, mentally, in every level? Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I have a compatibility assessment quiz that helps with that. Just looking at that physically, do I like to have a clean house? Am I OCD about my house? Can I deal with somebody who's really very, very sloppy? I mean, that's a simple thing, but it can be a really rough match if everything else is aligned. You need to come up with somehow this is going to work. Physically, or do you like to be active? I live in Colorado, the most physically active state in the country. So there's a lot of people here that really like to, bicycle and hike mountains and keep physically active. But there are some people who would rather read books and, watch videos or play cards together. So kind of thinking about how am I as a person and what are my preferences? How much time do I like to spend with my family at all? Do I like to travel? Do I like to stay home? Just that compatibility at all levels is helpful for us to discover about ourselves, and then to think about must-haves, deal breakers, and nice to have. So those are the three columns that I like to just start with. When I work with a client, we actually call it putting in an order, which is like, okay, when you're talking to God, like, here's my order, God. It's really for ourselves and our hearts. The Lord knows way more about what we want and need than we do. But, things like spiritual compatibility is number one for Christians. We don't want to be unequally yoked, and the Lord gives us so much guidance to help us get the most enjoyable and the most fulfilling relationship. And he wants us to serve together with the partner that we choose. So he has some plans for us together as a partner as well. So that compatibility is really important for us to consider about ourselves, how he has made us, what we're looking for. We don't want a clone of ourselves because that would be boring. So someone who's interesting in some other ways, and then feeling whether we're open to somebody else's perspectives and opinions. And then that comes sometimes to that readiness for commitment as well.
Yeah, so good. You said that. Well, can you repeat the three category columns? That must be deal breakers. What's another one?
Yeah, must-haves, deal breakers, and then nice to haves. So for me, I'm almost 6 feet tall, so I have a pretty big desire for someone who's my height or taller. But if God has somebody else in mind, it's not going to be like, oh, he's perfect for me in so many ways, but that half inch just is going to be a deal breaker. So nice to haves in the middle, and sometimes some of those shift around, but usually with the must-haves, people often start with physical descriptions, and we like to set those aside and not picture someone in our minds in the beginning, because it can limit us in finding the richness of who God has for us. And when I first was learning about that, it just freaked me out. I was afraid that, oh God, you're going to make me fall in love with somebody that isn't physically attractive, which doesn't make any sense. Because God's the one who created physical attraction and chemistry. And just like with Rebecca and Isaac in the Old Testament, it talks about the physical attraction. I mean, it doesn't use those words, but Isaac catapulted off his camel when he saw Rebecca, because there was so much attraction there. He was so happy to see this beautiful person that God had created for him.
Yes, that's a good example. And I really like this nice to have, must have, and deal breaker.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
So for us, sometimes like something is negotiable, right? It's not a must have. So that gives us some clarity and guidance. And also you mentioned about, have an open mindset instead of closed mindset. I have to meet X, Y, Z, otherwise, those kind of things. Also you mentioned about, have the relationship with the Lord, and he gave us the faith value. And so we would look out what kind of quality or character the person should have, that we want to spend a lifetime with, right? Some
Right.
godly
There's
characters.
so important, so important. And it's easy to get hung up in the beginning on appearance and fun and those kinds of things. And they all go together. The compatibility is you need to enjoy each other's company. But yeah, the getting set in a lot of people start with, they have to make this much money, they have to have this kind of a job, they have to live in this kind of a house, they have to drive this kind of a car, they have to have this kind of a look. And it's okay to put those things down, but when it comes to really spending time together, having a vision of how you want to spend, say, what's a fun day together that you can envision yourself in 5 years, if you're married to this person, what kind of life do you have together? Is it, sitting at the table, praying together, reading scripture together, kayaking together in the afternoon, having Bible studies in your home, having dinner parties in your home? Is it mostly just you and the families that you're blending together? Most of the time now, for people over 50, of the people that I work with are blending families. But thinking about that character and looking for that he honors you. And as I said, I mostly work with women. So does he honor you? Does he respect you? Does he regard you as the partner that God has created for him? There are many different perspectives on relationships. What does God say about the roles we have in relationships? And are we bringing ourselves to the table the way God intended us to be? So all those things need to be looked at in the process of preparing for dating.
Wow, I can see why the courses are so much needed, because so many people right into relationships. I mean, honestly, we have never been through school of relationship and teach us how to do relationships. Basically, we learn just from our childhood, our household, from our observation, but we really don't know how to do relationships, many of us.
Right, getting it, just choosing the right person in the first place, and then once you're in the relationship, managing that and our perspectives on that. You're right. With we have mostly our family of origin, how we grew up, is the vision that we have of relationships, which is powerful, and God can do, make all things good for those who love him. So it isn't like, well, I had a horrible upbringing and the relationship I grew up with was terrible, so I'm stuck with never having a great relationship. As we know, God doesn't work that way. But what do we need to start with? And what do we need to look at and heal before we even really get into a serious relationship? And that doesn't take a super long time. So it isn't like, okay, wow, I have to spend 5 years healing before I go there. But really, it's important. I have a 90-day program, and in 90 days, a whole lot can be shifted to prepare us to be open to the right kind of person.
Yes, I realize you mentioned about this, really, our personal growth and development is not a sit in the vacuum, in the insulated place, isolated place by ourselves. Our growth and becoming whole has to be interacted with other person or people in relationships, right? Today's world, people are busy, or everybody is busy, on their jobs or other things. So, and we also, there's lots of online dating apps. And do you have some tips or heads ups for single people out there, they want to date through those, dating apps?
Right. Right. And the statistics in 2021, as we can understand, 50% of all marriages resulting from meeting in 2021 came from online dating. And on average, it's 33%. So a third of all marriages right now are a result of online dating. So it is significant. Some people don't want anything to do with it, but the people that are interested in doing it, there are some things that are definitely helpful. I'll just go through a few tactical ones to prepare. It's important to have, just for pictures, and it depends on the app. I'm not experienced with all of them because there's more every week, but to have a picture of yourself without sunglasses, without a hat, with a smile on your face so they can see that you have teeth. Say, like, let me know if you have teeth, because people just want to see a smiling face. And that's how your first impression is. So that's if you have an opportunity to have more than one picture, a full body shot, and it just need, if you're walking with friends or something, it doesn't need to be a professionally done picture, though. If you get your photos done, that's helpful too, professional photos, but your face and to see you smile and to see a full body shot. God makes all kinds of different shapes, sizes, and wonderfulness about people. So don't worry about, oh, I need to do this first. I need to get a facelift first. I need to lose 10 pounds first. Just be you, have a picture of yourself to start with. And then for what information you put about yourself, what I've learned is people are very timid about sharing their faith on an online dating app. And really, we don't want to be preachy and Bible thumpy about it, but I use a Bible verse as an introduction, and I recommend that. A lot of dating apps have, maybe you choose a quote if you can put one of those in. Some don't allow all this space, but some of them do. Just a Bible verse that you love that says something about you, and then to mention that that you're whatever you like to do. So for the person to be seeing your picture, reading maybe a sentence or two about you, they need to kind of get a sense of who you are. Some of the dating apps have an automatic sentence that people can choose because they are afraid to write something, and that tends to end up being like, I'm not interested if you can't even tell me something about yourself. You can say, I'm a fun-loving author, speaker, I love to travel and play golf. That says a lot in a short amount of words. Or I like to sit by the fire and drink hot cocoa. I don't really like to be outside much, and I like to be in the snow. People need to be able to relate to that personality about yourself. I have a set of some questions that I use with my clients that just make it easy to, if you popped into my house on a Saturday morning, you might catch me fill in the blank. For me, it's dancing to the Beach Boys and getting ready to go on a hike with my dog. Something simple like that can give somebody else a talking point to ask you about, oh, what kind of dog do you have? Sort of opens the conversation. So those are just some starting tips for dating apps.
Very good, very good. So have a nice, good profile with whole body, whole face, without hat or sunglasses on, and give other people a full visual image of who you are, and the intro of yourself, including your personality, your hobbies. Some people might include their career, so on and so forth.
Right.
And
right.
you said including a sample, maybe one or two verses, and speak to, this verse might be my favorite verse, speak to my heart, who I am. So those are really, really good indication. So good tips.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
and the people, what I've heard from my clients, as they've really taken a risk to put a Bible verse on there or to speak about their faith, the men that they end up with, and I just heard from a client the other day that just got married a few weeks ago. She was a little timid about doing that, but the man that was attracted to her said, wow, you have courage to share your faith. I'm interested in meeting you. So it really helps them to see the kind of person that they're looking for, because if it isn't someone who's interested in that, you don't want to date 1,000 people. You just want that one, right?
Right. Yes. Yes. This morning I was do the devotional, have the devotional time, I was thinking, why it has taken so long to find the soulmate. so to speak, a right person, So there's a process, a preparation, and the process of opening ourselves, to put ourselves out there, and get connected and put the right amount of information to attract the right person into our lives.
Right, right. And
Yeah.
then being, I call it the CEO of your own love life. Many of us, especially if there's self-esteem or self-worth thought or issues or, struggles, go into dating thinking, oh, I hope he picks me. No,
No.
we're interviewing for a top position in your life and you are in charge of it. So being in the mindset of God has chosen someone for me who's going to be perfectly matched for me. And I have criteria, certainly not, pompous and degrading or anything, but I have criteria that I'm interviewing for. And somebody who is interested, who God has sent your direction, is going to be curious about you, is not going to sit back or give up on you, is going to pursue you. A man pursues a woman, and that, I believe, is how God designed it. So if you're a man, you would be doing the pursuing, but that doesn't mean women don't do the choosing. So we can choose someone we're interested in on an app and just, I call it drop a hanky, ask them a question, see if they're interested in connecting. But we don't chase them. We don't go, okay, you're interesting, let's go to coffee and meet. We want to stay in the roles, and that's a whole other discussion, in the
Right.
roles God has given us. But yeah.
Yeah, I like you point this out. Actually, we don't have time to dive into today, but as a man and a women, we have play different roles. So who gonna initiate, reach out, ask for date? I'm assuming most time would be the men, right?
Yeah, well, we can, as women, we can indicate we're interested, and men appreciate that, especially in our world that's causes so much confusion for men. Do I open the door and get yelled at? Do I open the door and she'll thank me for that? So
Yeah.
we want to be clear about letting them know we're interested. That's fair, right?
hmm
But we don't do the chasing because we want to sit back and be in our feminine energy. God created us that way.
Good tip. So single ladies, and listen up what Linda just said. And may we have this really as a woman, we should have this confidence inside of us.
Right.
And instead of have those no self-esteem, no self-image, and hopefully someone else gonna fill me up and help me out, and that's not in the right place, right? Yeah.
Right. And I think, as you know, you use the word confidence, and I know with the work that you do as well,
Mhm.
confidence is the number one attractor in any relationship. When you meet someone, even for a business conversation, if there's confidence there, you see it and it's appealing to you. So
Yeah.
we work on that confidence, no matter what you look like or what else is going on in your life. If you have that confidence, it's a really big step.
Yes. So talking about confidence, my next question is, what is successful dating? What can people do to prepare for successful dating?
All right. Yeah, and successful dating to me is in some ways like interviewing for someone for a job. It's following some steps. I was an operating room nurse most of my career, so I'm into being efficient, not wasting time and energy, and certainly we don't want to waste time and emotion. And if with dating apps or any other kind of dating, it can get expensive. So we just want to do what is needed and leave out the things that aren't necessary, following a tried and true process that isn't wasting time. So, and some people might like to date. I have one client who just said, I just don't want to date. I just want to meet him and I just want to get to know him. Well, you need to date him when you do meet him, but several of my clients have met one person and end up marrying that one person because we get so tuned in to what we're looking for that we don't date someone that we just know isn't really a fit, but I want to date. So being clear on what you want and not spending time on meeting people that you know aren't for you. will clear a lot of emotional issues that you don't need to go through that. Dating someone, then breaking up with them, or meeting someone that doesn't feel right. Maybe it is a narcissist and you're thinking, well, he's kind of doing all those narcissist things, but he's so cute. Let's take a breath and think about, what are you looking for here? What is God guiding you to? And not getting into a relationship that isn't the right one, even though he might be handsome.
Yes. So this relate to another question, but let me just weave them together. So for, we have other speaker talk on some healthy or unhealthy relationships as well, and we can look into those perspectives. But here today, we're talking about dating. When we enter into a new relationship, facing a new partner, so how do we know, is this a true love, comes from a love, a pure heart as a Christian we talk about, so to speak? How can we differentiate, infatuation from just genuine connection? For instance, if a lady met a guy, it's really genuine, it's kind, the guy is kind of show some interest, but sometimes the women, they fall in love very quick without knowing the whole picture, without knowing the whole story of the person. So it's more, it's kind of a off the trail if we cannot stay focused and knowing, step by step, there's a process. It takes time for relationship to grow. Like what you mentioned about, women date someone, the first one, and this one gonna be my forever person, without evaluating or takes time. So yeah, as you talk about successful dating, and then sometimes it ends up breakups and ends up heartbreaking. We don't want wasting our time and never, heartbreaking. So how help us understand how can we prevent from going to that rabbit hole, going to that trail, and stay on track.
How to avoid heartbreak. Yes, and it isn't guaranteed, but we can certainly minimize it. Not being in a hurry. And one of the people, the coaches that I work with, I follow her process pretty closely in some of the work that I do. She said, love at first sight is only about 10% of relationships start with love at first sight. So assuming that most of the time, and I just think assume all the time, you don't know, even though you're attracted to someone in the beginning, sitting back and saying, I don't know. What a great sign that you're attracted to them. Getting butterflies can be part of a true tried and true relationship that's going to turn into something long term, but we just don't know in the beginning. So being in a hurry isn't a good idea, even if we're feeling like being in a hurry. So what happens then, we come to our own personal work again, is, oh wow, I'm so excited about this guy, but he hasn't texted me back and he's really cute and I really want to go out with him again, but he didn't ask me. Learning that self-soothing, if you already have methods that you use to soothe yourself, distract yourself, remember that you are an amazing, whole, beautiful person that God has created in this earth. Go do something else, distract yourself. Don't text him, don't call him, don't invite him to something. Sit back and take a breath and wait. And I was just thinking once again about the client that I had that was recently married. When she had just first met this man that she's married to now, I saw a text that she sent me that said, oh boy, I hope this is the one. He's so amazing. I know I'm trying to not think this is the one, but I just hope he is. That's kind of the tension that we want to keep, that we don't know for sure. I'm going for it. And even when my clients meet someone like that, I can be logical when I'm talking to them, but I can also see that they're just like, I'm ignoring what you're saying because I really want to be the one. And that's okay to feel that way, but really it is taking that time. And after the first 6 weeks of dating, we can know quite a bit about someone, and time isn't, set perfectly, but 6 months, my daughter met her husband when she was in her very late 30s, and she hadn't been married before, and she called it the agent. the agent finally gives up at about 5 months. So we put on our best selves when we meet someone new. But after about 5 or 6 months, we kind of relax and become more of ourselves. And all of my clients, except for one, I think, have waited a full year before they got married because they wanted to really get to know each other and know that they want to spend time with each other. It isn't just like, oh my gosh, he's so hot, I can't wait to see him again. That's a great part of it. But wow, I can't wait to talk to him again. I've got some things I want to talk to him about. When my daughter was dating the man that she ended up marrying, he wasn't her type. She said, he's not my type, but he's really fun. So I'm going to go hang out with him. We've gotten to be pretty good friends. And after 5 weeks, she said, I'm starting to feel different about him. We've just had so much fun together. We were friends, but then she was falling in love with him. So we just don't always know how it's going to go. Trying to keep the brakes on. And women are in charge of the physical speed of a relationship. Men are in charge of the emotional speed of a relationship. And as Christian women, it's up to us to work with the Holy Spirit and to have help with keeping ourselves in charge of that part of the relationship.
I mean, as a Christian coach, and I see the two extremes. Some on one side is that I desperately need someone. I cannot live my life without this person. On the other extreme is like, so it's not so proactive in that sense in relationship. So it's more in a passive, but not aggressive. But yeah, come to the place that is well controlled. Would say be our desire, our emotions, and follow the steps, and knowing that trust the process. And
yeah, and you used the word desperation, and we were talking about energy. The energy of desperation is very off-putting, and it will never attract the person that you're wanting to attract. So if you're feeling that desperation, that's okay, because we all feel that at some times. But just knowing that I want to work my way out of that desperation, I am attracted to this person, or I want to find someone. I've got to find someone. Taking a breath and stepping back, and that can be shifted quickly in a matter of a short amount of time. But just not having that feeling of desperation, and like you said, just being comfortable with your life, comfortable with who you are, and knowing, but you can have a huge desire in your heart. I really want partnership.
yeah.
And I know I'm headed in that direction, and God has that for me.
Yes, and be intentional, right, in this direction. So very good, very good. I love our discussion today. So, and I also mindful our time, but I have more questions for you, Linda. I will save them for our second and third sections. Okay, so thank you so much for today's discussion and for your wonderful tips. And this is a Relationship Real Talk. I'm a host, Marie, and thank you for Coach Linda Geiger for your time and your expertise.
Thank you, Marie. So wonderful to spend this time